important items on our agenda. So before we get started, I would like for all the committee members to introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with the lady from District 4.
Good morning. This is Renee Johnson, council member and committee member.
Thank you, Renee, for having your shirt on.
And now, thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. It was the foundation.
The young lady who represents us at large. Dimple, can you introduce yourself, please?
Dimple, yes, Dimple Ashmira at large.
Thank you, Dimple, for your shirt. Very good. The gentleman who represents District 6.
Tarek Bakari, Vice Chair.
All right. Tarek, I don't see you don't have your shirt on?
No, I'm driving right now. Apologies.
Oh, okay. Ooh, be careful. Be careful. The gentleman who represents District 5, and we're going to make it an honorary member because he put his shirt on.
So much, Mr. Chair. Matt Newton, District 5. Great to be here.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. And those here in room 280, can you introduce yourselves? Start off with the Chief of Staff of the Mayor. We'll come back to her.
I'm Laura Smith. I'm an Executive Vice President with the Foundation for the Carolinas.
Tracy Dodson, manager's office. Admittedly did not wear my shirt. I have something else, so I apologize.
All right, I'll let her slide.
Donata Jackson, Office of Constituent Services. My shirt's on the way.
Fran West, City of Charlotte Economic Development.
Emily Cantrell, City of Charlotte Economic Development.
And I know we have some other council members on. Mayor Pro Tem?
Good morning, everyone. Julie Eisel, Mayor Pro Tem and serving at large. Happy to listen in this morning.
And we have some special guests we've been working with probably since May, the member of our small business task force who have joined us. And so I would like for those individuals to introduce themselves, starting with Ms. Diava.
Good morning, everyone.
Vinay?
Good morning, Vinay Patel with Shree Hotels.
Chad?
Good morning, Chad Turner with the Charlotte LGBT Chamber and the Charlotte Small Business Coalition.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Now back to the Mayor's Chief of Staff. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Kay Cunningham, Office of the Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Tracy Dotson to lead us through the agenda. Tracy?
Great. Thanks, Councilmember Mitchell. If we can pull up the presentation, we have three items on the agenda for today. First, the committee referrals. Councilmember Mitchell and I can tag team on that a little bit. Second, open for business. We want to give you updates and potentially some recommendations on access to capital, and then review one last time before we start implementing Thrive initiatives. And then we will start a discussion about our tax increment grant policy. Today will be an overview on that, and then we can come back in September and discuss it more.
Perfect.
All right. So with that, if we can go to the next slide. What I have here is what was referred to the Workforce and Development Committee. The way that my understanding is the mayor had sent them out was the items in green, which you'll see some on the next slide, were the highest priority ones, and then what's in blue were new ones. And just really quick, opportunity zones, I think it continues to be an ongoing conversation about what's happening in opportunity zones. A lot of that work will tie into our corridors. Councilmember Mitchell, just let me know if you have anything to add into that. A workforce development strategy. So there's a couple different prongs in this. Obviously, you will see today a couple of different initiatives that we're proposing in Thrive around workforce development. But also, Emily had presented to the manager and I last week a broader strategy around workforce development strategies. And I think in a future meeting, it would be advantageous to bring that back as well and share with the committee. The tax increment grant, as we know, that'll be a part of our discussion today. A new item, the youth employment policy, which we can have some more discussion about and start to determine how to move that along. further promoting African American business opportunities. I think this conversation can go in a couple of different directions. We can talk about it, how it relates into our corridor work, but then also other opportunities that we may have or initiatives. Next slide, please. Now for the ones in green that are proposed as new, safe Charlotte focus, workforce development plans to reduce high unemployment. And again, some of this goes into what we're doing under the Thrive strategy. We think it's really important to tie some of the work that we're already doing. Workforce development policy, which is the criteria required when city funding is included. I think we started a little bit of that discussion last week. I think there's more discussion that could be had, or potentially an opportunity for staff to bring back some recommendations around that. And then we also have a workforce plan in corridors of opportunity. We have been talking about doing some talent studies in our corridors, as well as looking at employment opportunities in our corridors. And so it's really easy, just to add on to that a little bit, it's really easy to say we want businesses to locate in corridors, but how much opportunity do we really have? What is the talent, and what are the businesses best suited for those corridors? The last one is strengthening workforce development within the diversion program. And again, just more work that we can do around that. So I'll stop there, and Councilman Mitchell, see if you have anything to add.
No, thank you. And I have to applaud the mayor, because she called a meeting with all the committee chairs, and she was pretty adamant about important work we need to do in the month of August, particularly around safe Charlotte focus. And then I was very excited that she allowed us to look at how do we increase African American business opportunities, as well as diversion programs. So I will ask Councilman Johnson to get with Emily. Councilmember Johnson works very closely with an organization she introduced me to about 2 months ago. So Councilman Johnson, after the meeting, if you and Emily can touch base with the work you've been doing with that organization, I think it could be a worthwhile conversation as we talk about diversion program. Committee, any comments before we move on? Okay.
Great. So let's go now into the open for business, and we really want to start with a couple things under the Survive strategy. If we can go to the next slide, and give you a couple of updates there. Next slide. One, I want to remind you where the budget was. This was the budget that you adopted in May. And you can see there how it all broke down. If we go to the next slide, there are three things I want to call your attention to. The intensive career cohorts, if you remember at our last committee meeting, we said that we would come back to council on some opportunities there, and then also workforce partner support. We had spent $500,000 to execute a Renew training cohort. This was around HVAC and the American Climate Challenge. And then we have $250,000 remaining out of that. And then the last thing was the Small Business Accelerator. The selection of a partner to establish this has not yet occurred, so we're essentially suggesting that we roll that over into Thrive initiatives. Not necessarily the same exact initiative, but I'll explain more later. So by the math, that gives you $2.25 million to roll over into Thrive. Okay, so I just want to start with explaining that to everybody that we didn't implement all of our Survive initiatives, so we're just rolling those extra funds over, and I'll explain later. You'll see in the overall budget. So we'll start with the $17.25 million budget. So now let's go to access to capital, and I want Laura to give you an update on where we are with that, but then also make some recommendations for next steps.
Thank you for having me. So just real quickly, the slide before, you want to give you an update on where we are with wrapping up with this phase of the grant program. So when we closed out a week or so ago, we had 5,772 businesses that had submitted or started an application. Actually a pretty exciting number, given that we think the universe of small businesses in Charlotte are around 10,000. a little over 10,000 businesses. So roughly 50% of the businesses in Charlotte, reached out and started an application process. Of those 5,700, 3,400, a little over 3,400 ended up submitting applications. $42 million are represented by that 3,405 applications. So as you'll know, if you look underneath those, you'll see our focus for this round of grants were companies who had not already received funding from PPP or Golden Leaf or city microloans. And so the universe that we had as we considered initially grants were 1,555 companies, and this represented $17 million. The breakdown of those between the micro and the small business, we had lots of conversations about the micro, which are 5 or less employees. And so about 1,400, a little over 1,400 were the micro businesses, and we had about 101 small businesses, so 25 to 6 employees. One of the things that we've kind of talked about along the way is just the error rate that we saw in applications. So just want to address that again, is we continue to see about a 65% error rate, meaning of those who submitted an application, about 65% were unsuccessful in their first attempt to get the information included that we needed. Obviously, you all know that we've been working very diligently to try to bring that number up so that we increase the number of folks that were eligible. Looking at those that applied to the fund that had already received PPP funding, we had about 1,700 who were requesting about $25 million that we have not considered at this part of the game because we were placing a priority on those who had not received funding. So we've had about approximately 1,100 micro businesses in that category and about 579 employers that were in that small business category from 6 to 25. And our error rate in those applications was about 47%. We'll go to the next slide. On this slide, we're going to focus on what happened in this, these initial rounds of grants. And so, as you know, we had 3 grant cycles prior where we awarded 391 grants totaling a little over $4.2 million. The breakdown of those were, the mass majority were micro businesses. So 369 micro businesses received grants and 22 small business grants. We're excited to say in this last round of grants, we have 369 additional awardees in this next round. So those were all processed last week, and I think checks will go out from the city tomorrow for the additional 369 grants, 358 which were micro businesses and 11 were small businesses. So in closing out this phase of the program, we have an additional a total of 760 businesses that were supported through this program for a little over $8 million. So a total of 727 micro businesses and 33 small businesses. Yes.
If I may.
Yes.
One, this is just great information. And so committee, are there any questions? Because I know there's been a lot of conversation in the community. Who have received the grants, what was the ratio between micro business, small grants, and the total dollar amount. So I want to stop right here and make sure and see if there are any questions from the committee members. None? Okay.
The next slide, I think, is one of my favorite images as part of this program. But this shows you a dot on the map for every grant, the 790 grants that we've made to date. You can see those on this map, so you can see exactly where these businesses are, which were spread throughout the city of Charlotte. So I hope council members and those on the task force can all feel really good about the support that went out to the community and those that it reached. So it's really exciting for us to see where those grants ended up happening. Next slide. This gives you just a breakdown. We wanted to share with you just what our demographics look like from a racial standpoint. So if you look at your pie chart to the left-hand side, you'll see it represents the breakdown of applicants in terms of how they identified themselves in terms of race. in terms of submissions. So this is, of all those who submitted, approximately 48% identified themselves as Black or African American. We had 9% that identified themselves as Asian. 31% identified themselves as either white or Caucasian. We had, 3.5% of other, and about 8% were Hispanic or Latin American. And then what you look at, the pie chart to your right-hand side of the screen is actually what happened in terms of awards. So again, left-hand side is all submissions, and then the right-hand side represents awards. So you'll see that about 59% of the grants went to Black or African American owned businesses, 5% Asian, 24% Caucasian white, 9% Hispanic, and about 2.5% identify themselves as other, and about 0.5% or American Indian, Alaskan American. So that's our breakdown in terms of our racial demographics for the program at this point.
Any questions? Any comments?
Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
Councilmember Ashmere, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what I see here is really the businesses that did not get PPP, because this data only shows businesses that we already distributed grants to, and this is our phase where we have not touched any business that have received PPP. So you can clearly see here, for an example, where we had over 48% African American, 8% Hispanic, but in distribution, we can see clearly 58% African American and 9% Hispanic. So clearly, a lot of those businesses were left out of PPP, and our Access to Capital program is supporting these businesses. So really, it's great to see this equitable distribution. So I've just been pretty pleased, and I wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Ms. Ashmere, because Laura hears a lot of praise from me, but it's good to hear from other people who appreciate the work that the foundation was able to do for our small businesses. Any other comments? Laura?
Kind of moving to our next slide. Your pie chart on the left-hand side just represents the gender breakdown for the program. So of those receiving awards, 47% identified themselves as female owners and 53% male. So that was our breakdown. And then the final pie chart on your right-hand side, it breaks it down in terms of the number of years that were in business, which I thought was really fascinating. So 43% of your businesses had been in business for over 8 years. You had approximately 25% in the 4 to 7 year range, and you had 32% that were in business 3 or less years. So I thought a nice breakdown of the businesses that applied and received funding. With this next slide is Holly on. I think Holly was going to cover these next slides.
I am on. Thanks. So it's a great summary, Laura. Hey, everybody. Holly Eskridge with the Economic Development Department. So we're really pleased with this program. It's been an amazing partnership. Councilmember Ashmere, I completely agree with you. I think that we're hitting exactly who needed this funding for these first 8 weeks that we had this program up and running. We're very, very happy about it. And we're happy with the trend as far as the number of awards that they increased so much this last fourth round of checks. So we want to talk about some recommendations and how we want to move this project forward. And so what we would like to do is we would like to open a new application period, and we'd like to run that from August 11th to the 30th. And during this time, actually, I'll go into bullet 4. So August 11th to the 30th, we're saying for 3 weeks to keep that open, where new applications can come in. We would like to, moving forward, include all eligible applications in award selection. One thing that is important to note is that the non-PPPs that submitted in the first 8 weeks will still maintain that level of priority, but moving forward on the PPPs and anything that comes in those 3 weeks, we believe that it's time to include all of those in a selection pool. Then we also really want to do intensive assistance to small businesses that have application errors. As you saw on the slide Laura went over, it's the non-PPP, as we're calling them, and the PPP companies both have error rates. And really, it's important that the focus be shifted to really helping to correct those applications so that the businesses can receive the funding or are eligible to receive the funding. And so what we're saying is that there will be a new community outreach strategy. So we're starting the marketing around the new application cycle and program. The foundation's done some great work around that. Actually, have looked at some of the things they prepare, but we're really trying to push back out that it is open and it is all small businesses that are eligible to apply. The second is we had a really great meeting. Councilmember Newton facilitated this happening with some of our advocates in the community that work with international small businesses. And they really came up with this great solution, which is creating these navigators within their specific demographics that they support in the international small business community. And so Laura and her team's done an awesome job of training these navigators. The navigators, wherever these different advocacy groups feel like is the most appropriate location where our international small businesses can come in, they can apply for funding, it's safe, that's where they'll be located. And then actually with each navigator will be a person who was at one of the YMCA sites. So it's actually the most effective and efficient way, we think, to make sure that the information that's needed, that our international small businesses understand that, what's required, and they have an opportunity to apply. And then we will have one site that will have an in-person clinic like we did the YMCA's, except it'll just be one site over those 3 weeks. So on the right-hand side on the slide, there's the timeline. Again, August 11th to 30th, we would reopen the application. The applications would be due by August 30th at 5 p.m. And then we'll deploy this community outreach strategy that's listed in bullet 4. August 11th through October 2nd, that's when we'll be shifting really towards helping these small businesses with errors in their applications fix those errors. It's going to be a high-touch engagement, which is really great, and we think exactly what our small businesses need. August 21st through October 16th, we'll continue at this point in time for that first 8 weeks. We did every 2 weeks in a word cycle, so we're going to continue with that process, and we feel like 100% of the money will be released by October 16th. And then those business surveys that we talked about previously that need to be done to close out the program, we'll start submitting those to our small businesses that receive the grant awards October, November of 2020 to get all of that done and closed out by December 30th, 2020. Councilmember Mitchell, do you want me to stop here for any questions?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Keep moving.
First of all, Holly, thank you for wearing your shirt.
On vacation.
Welcome.
While you're on vacation, thank you for your dedication. And I'm going to go to Councilmember Johnson.
Okay, you got it.
And then Mr. Vinay Patel has a question. And I'm going to kind of deviate, but he's part of the Small Business Task Force. So, Councilmember Johnson, your question first.
Okay, thank you. This is a really great program, but I had some questions about the error rate. So there was a 67% error rate. That seems like really high, more so than just user error. So I wanted to know if there was a breakdown on what those errors were, and will these recommendations and next steps, do you think, will address some of those errors in the process?
I think, as we've been talking about every time I've met the errors that have been occurring, and there's not one particular area. We're seeing errors across the board, and it's everything from people not signing the documents, not having a document notarized. They use a name in the application that's different from what's on their W-9. Their TIN number doesn't match, and so we've been seeing errors in various places. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is tweak our application all the way along to try to correct wording, change our Q&A to try to support as much as we can. But we continue to see, despite how we've changed things and we have morphed along the way, we continue to see the large error rates. One of the reasons that you see the larger number of grants awards this time 396 is because we are now going back to anybody that hasn't been successful. We have been reaching out to them directly to try to help them with it. So as you know, we had application sites open, eight different YMCAs where they could come in and receive personalized support to help them fill out the application. We have had notaries available to them, so anyone that could not get a notary, they had opportunities to do that. We are now reaching out by telephone and asking if they were unable to come into a Y site, do they want essentially a Zoom meeting with us, and we'll help them fill out their application online. So we are trying every avenue that we possibly can to help alleviate those barriers to get people over the hump. As Holly mentioned, we are continuing anyone that was successful sending in that application that meets that eligibility criteria. We are still working with them on trying to get them over the hump. But we really, it kind of runs the gamut in terms of the types of errors that we've seen on the application process.
Great. So there will be intentional outreach to those organizations that weren't successful due to errors to walk them through this next time.
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, we've been doing that all the way along. So don't want you to think it's just something we're doing now. We have been doing that all the way along. And literally, there are some companies that we have now contacted 2 or 3 times. We have even driven out to locations to get documents signed for people. I mean, we are leaving no stone unturned in terms of our efforts to try to help businesses achieve this objective of getting things correct.
Wow, thank you. And then a question regarding the budget for this. What's the budget that's allotted to this fund or this program, Tracy?
$30 million.
30 million. And of that, we've spent how much?
8 million, a little over 8 million.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So Councilmember Johnson, you just like me, the remaining fund, I think we need to get the word out that we're talking about dispersing about $22 million worth of grant to our small businesses. Because I think the math is very important. Mr. Vinay Patel, sir.
I think Councilmember Johnson asked exactly what I was going to ask. And the one thing that I would say is, does it make sense to, we had $48 million in requests for $30 million available. Instead of getting new apps in, does it make sense to continue the outreach and get that going? But, my question got answered based on everything that was said by Laura.
Thank you, Vinay.
I want to clarify one thing. Obviously, there's $42.8 million that was requested. A large portion of that, we have not even looked at those applications yet because they had already received PPP funding. So, if the decision of the committee is to open it up to small businesses that receive PPP, we will have more dollars to be able to look at in terms of awarding. The other reason that we really felt it was important to open up and give all businesses a chance to apply that have 25 or less employees is in case someone made a decision not to apply because they had already received PPP funding and thought, I'm not going to apply because I'm not a priority. We didn't want the program for someone not to have applied and now open it up and they say, well, if I had known, I would have put an application in. So we felt it was really important to take some time, not a long period of time, but to give everybody a fair playing field to know it is now open, and even if you receive PP funding, you have the opportunity to come in and apply.
Councilmember Ashmere.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Laura, thank you so much for the great presentation. So, Holly, thank you so much for your work. This process has been so transparent from day one with frequent updates. I do have questions around International Small Business Navigator. So, Mr. Newton, thank you for bringing this idea, because I have received some feedback from international small businesses where There were some instances where there was a language barrier or questions around immigration status and so on. So I think the Navigator model would certainly address some of those concerns. Would this Navigators, are we looking at our business support or the partner support organization to help us with the Navigators? Who are we working with, and would there be any costs associated with it?
There obviously there will be a cost associated, and I think the next slide is going to go over the additional costs with extending the program another 8 weeks. So there will be a cost to us adding that Navigator component. We did reach out to the international community, Councilman Newton as well, and tried and have worked over the last week to try to identify who these Navigators would be and what part of the community, different constituents of the international community we need to make sure that we are representing. We've been working on recruiting those folks last week, doing background checks. We're starting to train those folks. And then, as Holly mentioned, we are going to partner them with someone that has been working on the application process for, throughout this process. So hopefully that partnership will enable that when those applications come in, we know that they're 100% correct. So it's not only that Navigator that knows how to reach into that community and identify those business owners and help them come to the table, but we're partnering with someone who intimately knows the application process and can help make sure that we're hopefully creating error-free applications. And then we're also hiring notaries, that if someone is not able to get access to a notary, that we will have notaries that can go in and meet with a Navigator, with this YMC floater, with the business owner, and create, take down any barriers in terms of a notary as well.
But I guess I'm trying to understand, do we have to set aside any budget for Navigators?
Yes, it's in the Thrive. You'll see it. One more slide, Councilmember Ashmere.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Okay.
And the man who, well, can we go back one more if we can?
Yeah.
Because I want to give Councilmember Newton a lot of credit for his leadership on the Navigator. So, Councilmember Newton, sir.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to thank the staff for all of your hard work on the entirety of this program. This has been a tremendous undertaking that I know is immensely valuable for the city of Charlotte and all of our small businesses. Also, I want to thank staff for being open and welcoming of the immigrant and refugee communities and their concerns. The Navigator program sparked by a number of community leaders, immigrant and refugee community leaders, expressing the cultural and language barriers of the small businesses in their communities and how they experience difficulty through the application process. We can look at, but also bear in mind that even aside from that error rate, there are segments of the community that, due to those hurdles existing, were unable or just did not feel comfortable to explore the possibility of these grants. The Navigator program fills that gap. Now, bear in mind too, there still are some additional gaps that aren't being filled. Some businesses, I think, would be defined as a small business, but don't fall within our criteria. And I understand, I know that through the conversations we have with community leaders, that they understand as well that this is CARES Act dollars that we're talking about here, and there are restrictions upon that. So we can talk about other ways. I hope that we explore other ways of building partnerships with organizations in the communities to fill those additional gaps. One type of business that comes to mind is the folks that have gardens that they cultivate and then sell to local grocers and provide that locally sourced fresh produce for our communities across all of Charlotte. They unfortunately fall outside the parameters of our grant program here. Maybe there are opportunities for partnerships with local organizations to fill those gaps. But nevertheless, wanted to give a lot of credit to the community leaders that came together to discuss the Navigator program with our city staff, the YMCA, and the city staff as well. We'll see a little bit more information pertaining to the specifics of the program, but thank you all so much for your involvement, your encouragement, and then also thank you for listening and for providing notaries. That has also been one of the challenges experienced by those segments of the community. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Once again, Councilman New, thank you, because I think you brought this to our attention. I know I had a meeting with them last Thursday, the same community leaders, so I appreciate you, sir, taking this initiative. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I also just want to say, first of all, thank you to Mr. Newton for his work in really promoting this and his passion for this topic, because I think it really brought to light some fundamental issues with our small businesses in Charlotte. And with that, I want to say thank you to Laura and Holly for making government look good, because it shows that we can pivot and we can be nimble and really adjust to what we're hearing from our constituents and from the community. So I really appreciate the granular level that you got to really figure out why we weren't able to deploy these loans as quickly as possible. So I'm glad that we're moving forward and opening it up, but that we gave the opportunity to small businesses who didn't get PPP first to give them really more of a running start to get this money. I think it's interesting how it sheds a light on businesses and individuals that don't have access to capital traditionally, that they've started businesses in a very organic way, probably borrowing money from friends and family. And so, when we're done with this, I hope that, Laura and Holly, you can provide us with takeaways on what really limits these businesses from growing as you see just simple things like the paperwork, because a lot of that paperwork and the need for it came out of people going to banks and the banks saying, here's what we need. So my last comment then is a question. Are there any documents that we have required that you have found, a lot of businesses just don't have, but there is a good reason to still give them money if we can tweak the program?
Laura?
We have not really found that. Our list of documents that, is fairly extensive. So it was a long list, and they only had to pick 3 from that long list. And most businesses have generally been able to do that. Only one of them is required to be from something that they can't self-generate, meaning that we have a document that's from a governmental source or a banking source or a utility, so that we know it's not something that they just self-generated. We've also tried to protect the city and these funds from fraud, and so we need to have something that guarantees that. But we've tried to be incredibly flexible. We also, as we have looked through documents, if we could tell that someone handed in a document that wasn't on that list, but it verifies the information that we needed, we've tried to flex to be able to meet applicants in that way as well. So again, I think we've had a very comprehensive list. It is not that we're asking for 15 documents. We're only asking for 3, and they get to pick and choose. And generally what we've seen is it's been a wide variety. It may be easier for someone to provide a utility bill, someone else a banking statement, someone else their origination letter from the state of North Carolina. So it really has varied what people have handed in. So I can't say that there's one document that nobody had, or generally people have been able to pull 3 of those documents that we had on our list.
Okay. So I think the Navigator thing really will help with that. So I appreciate it. And that's all. Just thanks for the hard work on this. And Mr. Newton, thanks for elevating that segment of the population that needed our help. Appreciate it.
I think, the what we're seeing with the documents or the application, it's more likely to be, for instance, someone hands in a lease, but the lease is not signed. So if it's not a signed lease, we can't verify that they're really an ongoing business. Or they hand it in, we had people that handed in a W-9 but didn't fill out the W-9. Well, you got to fill out a W-9, for it to be, or their name on the W-9 is different from the name on the application. And in order for the city to cross-check that, those 2 things have to match. So again, just a lot of different kinds of ways that I think people, moving too quickly, maybe not reading closely and providing, information. So again, those are the types of businesses that it's easy for us to follow back up with and hopefully get those applications corrected.
Ms. D'Alva.
Thank you, Councilman. Laura and Holly, good morning. Thank you for a great update. I was especially pleased to see the mitigation strategies that Holly presented this morning. My question is, I have a couple questions. Laura, how many applications do we get each week on average? You may have mentioned that, so I apologize if you have already, but can you share that number?
I'm going to give you a rough number, and I want to say we were receiving about 150, 200 in that range per week.
Okay. My concern is based on our run rate, if you will, based on the number of applications, that we still may not spend all this money, even with additional efforts, given the time that we have. So my question was, a couple questions. One is, can we extend the new deadline if we need to, or can we just extend it now? There may be a reason to have it where it is. So and then my other question is, can we go ahead and decision or grant the applications that are in queue that are qualified? Now, I don't think anyone mentioned about what we're doing for those who are sitting in queue. I myself have received 11 calls from people who have submitted applications who were wondering about status or wondering when they were going to get to that point. So whether or not they are PPP, have received PPP or not received PPP, my question is, can we go ahead and issue a grant to those who are qualified before opening the next round? I think we've done a great job in satisfying the diversity measures to this point. I feel like, I don't know, I know we talked about the algorithm that was used for decisioning and the random selection and those types of things. And that's good because certainly has proved out in making sure that the parity is there in terms of distribution. But there are businesses who still need funding that are sitting in queue. So my question is, can we go ahead and grant those before we open up the second one, the second round? And then if we find that at some point in October or November that there's still a significant amount of money remaining, the question is, can we go back and re-grant those who have been issued the $5,000 or the other level? I can't remember the number from the top of my head. Certainly, as we talked before in early conversations, it's still not enough. And so there's still a great need there. So I think, it will be very disappointing to all of us if we had money remaining at the end of the program, even in October at this point, significant amount of money remaining. And given the fact that we've, at this point, we've issued $8 million, we still have $22 million left, roughly. That's a significant amount. So looking at greater levels of grants, making sure that we go ahead and decision the ones that are approved that are in queue already, instead of having them wait there and then go and see if this next round of outreach works. I think there's some things that we can do now that's significant. What I'm saying.
Yeah. Let me, I'm going to answer, there are a lot of different questions you had there. So let me try to hit the ones that I think I've got the authority to answer, and then I'll turn it over to the city for the ones I don't think I have the authority to answer. And Tracy can hit me if I answer something that I'm not supposed to answer. So one, I want to reinforce any business that applied to us that had not received PPP funding or any other source of funding that successfully filled out an application and was eligible has gotten funding now. So there is no one in queue that, again, they filled out the application, they got it correct, they are eligible and hadn't received other funding. They have all now been funded. Now, we still have a group of applications that haven't received funding that we are still working with today as we speak to try to get their application correct. So we're continuing to work on those, and we continue to plan to make all those businesses a priority. So if they haven't gotten funding yet, and we can get them to successfully complete an application, you know, they're going to get funding. So I don't want you to think there are any of those that are waiting. The applications that we haven't looked at right now are PPP. And what we've been trying to do is actually review those along the way. So if you all made a decision and you all were ready to consider giving grants to those, that we would be in a position to be able to get those processed fairly quickly. So we don't intend to wait till the very end of the program to distribute the additional money. We have been re-granting every 2 weeks, and we would continue on that same schedule with the city, so that if we open it up to PPP and we've got applicants in that pool that have are eligible and have filled it out correctly, we would start funding those as soon as you give us the green light to do that. And we would do a section of grants every 2 weeks, you know, through the end of this program. One of the questions you asked was, do we think we'll be able to distribute the money? So what we have found is when we begin to work with applicants, we're able to get about a 70% success rate in terms of applicants correctly filling out the application. So if you look at the fact that we've already received $42 million in grant requests, and we think we can get 70% of those to the finish line, and if we receive another 150 over the next 3 weeks, we think that, you know, based on what we've seen so far, that those monies will be distributed. If we got to the end of this and it still wasn't distributed and the city looked at us and said, yes, we want to extend, that would be something we would consider, but it would certainly be a call for the city to make, you know, not the Foundation for the Carolinas. But our goal is to try to get this money out, you know, as quickly as we can. And I think it's important that we continue to process what we've got, but go ahead and open up the application process. So we're doing those things simultaneously so that we are continuing to get the funds out, that we've got the greatest shot. Because the last thing we want is the city to have money left over December 31 and any of those dollars going back. So I think we can do these two things simultaneously, which is, you know, get these processed that we already have in the door, but get other businesses a chance that may have said, I'm going to hold back and not apply because I've already gotten money, the chance to come in and apply.
Dialva, did you have a follow-up?
No, thank you for clarifying, and I did understand that those that are in queue are PPP. I guess my point is, it looks like we need to, and this may be for the city, okay, in this case, and those who are voting, I think we should really look at granting those who are qualified, who have received PPP funds. We should look at granting them now as well, particularly since there's such a significant amount to go around, and we have said many times that the need is there, and certainly if you look at the amount that's in queue, it validates that the need is there.
Okay. Thank you. And let me just address the one question you had, and I agree with Laura and other committee members. We are praying that we have no funds remaining, no grant funds remaining by the end of October. It is our goal, our intention to spend all $30 million on this grant program. So I will assure you, if we have any left over, Dialva, we would find a way to put that back in community and give it to the business owners, because you're right. We still hear from small businesses loud and clear that they still need assistance. Tracy?
All I was going to add to that, I think there's two asks in this presentation today. Is one, that this committee support the new recommendations that Laura and Holly have laid out as the next steps forward. So I think if we have that, then everything does fall into line to what Dialva's talking about.
So with that, committee members, can I get a motion on the floor to accept the recommendation for next steps?
Move to approve.
Okay. Can I get a second? Ms.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was Councilman Bakari. Thank you. Motion made by Councilmember Ashmere, second by Councilmember Bakari. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Councilmember, I'm sorry, I have my hand up.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Councilmember Johnson?
Okay, yeah. I just want to ask, out of those businesses that have applied, can you go back to the slide with the number of businesses that have applied? I think it's 3,405 businesses that have applied.
Councilman Johnson, while she's doing that, okay, let me finish the motion. So are you in favor of the motion?
Well, yeah, it's up for discussion right now, right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Discussion. Go ahead, Laura.
So what was the question? I'm not sure what the question was.
The slide with the number of applicants.
Okay.
I think it's slide 8.
Go back. Yeah, that one. Okay, yes.
Yeah. First of all, we're going to get a copy of this presentation. It's really informative, so thank you for this. But I just want to look at the numbers. And so we've had 3,400 businesses to apply, and the award has been, I think, to 760 businesses. And much of that is because of these large error rates. I don't think we can ignore these error rates before we move forward in changing the process and opening it up to businesses who've already received PPP. It does not seem that we've served effectively all of those who have tried to obtain the funding. So I really think that we need to mitigate the process and make sure that we are serving the ones that need the funding. You know, I specifically, I talked to my hairdresser this morning, and she had not received any funding. So there are still small businesses and those that need it, that due to some error or some miscommunication or lack of understanding, that aren't getting the funding. So I know that we're working to mitigate. So I would just hope that we try the improvement process and then give some window for folks to reapply with the new process in place before we expand it to those that have already received funding. And I know the businesses that have received funding may still need additional funding, but I really think that we're going to utilize more of the funding if people can get through the process. So, and then I would also ask, do we know was there a specific industry that applied more than the other, as far as small or micro businesses, or do you have any data on that? Like, what industry is mostly affected or the most affected right now in our community? Do we know that?
Well, we did ask the question of, there's a question on the application that asked them, were they impacted by the governor's orders? And the governor's orders outlined certain industries that had to close. And so we know all of those businesses that were required to close because of the governor's mandate. And when you look at those, the top company was restaurants in terms of those that received funding. Now, there were the mass majority of the companies, though, that have applied, just so you know, were not considered in the, quote, governor's mandate. So, unfortunately, the way the statistic runs, they had to choose other at that point, and so the other is a mass majority of the companies that did apply. But of those that were in the governor's mandate, restaurants was the number one that applied and was awarded in terms of those. In terms of just, you know, we've tried to leave no stone unturned in terms of this application. We are in this last period trying to intensify our outreach, moving our call center from just accepting calls to kind of reaching out to businesses. So, you know, I would say when we get contacted, because, you know, when we have been contacted about a nail salon or a different business, about 50% of the time they've already received PPP funding. And so they don't, you know, that's a reason. She may have, your salon owner may have a check that's getting ready to come out in the next day, so she may be in this next round. But she also could likely be in a group that is being either called by us or emailed by us, telling her, giving her a sense of what the error was and what the process. So again, the call center and the reviewers that we've had are now very much in a proactive kind of stage, trying to help all those business owners. So there should be a shift in helping us improve that error rate.
So for me, it just seems, it just seems like we really need to address this error rate before we move on to say, okay, next, we've helped all those who needed help. I think a 65% error rate really speaks to the process and the need for mitigation before we move on. I think these are vulnerable folks who have not received any funding, and I just think we should look at the mitigation practices and maybe implement those for a couple weeks, see if we can get some more folks through the process before we move on. I think we really need to focus on equity right now, and if there are individuals who are small entrepreneurs who have not received any funding, we know that unemployment, if they're eligible for that, is being cut this week. I just think that's too big of an error rate to ignore for me before we change the process to opening it up for other organizations.
And I just want to clarify again, the 65% error rate is before we've done the mitigation. So that's not the rate that we currently have. That's, going in, before we've assisted them. So, we are bringing that 65% rate up as we do our mitigation strategies.
So you mean for the next process, right? For the next phase?
No, what I am saying is the 65% rate that I'm showing you is the rate, if someone has received no support from us, there's a 65% error rate, and then we move into our support to help them, with that hurdle.
Are you accepting applications in person?
Yeah, if people want to drop off applications in person, they can drop them off, and that's why we had the 8 YMC locations that they could drop off, and literally they could, they were able to walk into those to those sites, and we would fill out the application for them. We are moving. We'll continue to have one site where people can drop in. We will have these navigators that will be out in the community. And then the other thing that we are moving into is if someone now wants us to have a Zoom meeting with them and help them fill out their application while we are supporting them in those meetings. So the other thing that's happening right now is our call center is calling folks and saying, are you having trouble with your application? Do you want to have a meeting at 9:30 on Tuesday morning, and let's sit down together and work through that application as well.
Okay, thank you.
There's a motion on the floor with Councilmember Ashmere, second by Councilmember Bakari. We had a discussion. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor, let me do a roll call. Councilmember Ashmere?
Yes.
Councilmember Bakari?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
I think I'd like to hold off and address this error rate before we moved on to open it up to organizations that have received PPP.
Councilmember?
So no.
Okay, Councilmember Mitchell, yes. So that's 3 and 1. How we record it? Abstain. So 3. The motion carries.
Mr. Mitchell, can I just comment on Councilmember Johnson's concerns? She does bring up valid concerns around error rate. So what I see when I look at the 65% and 47%, I think that's misleading, because I want to say, what is the error rate after they have gone back and worked with the businesses? I'm pretty sure that error rate is not this high, because I know personally there have been businesses that reached out to me about the application process, and I had connected them with the support staff, and they were able to work with them in terms of documentation. So I would like to see if we can get an updated error rate percentage, and I think that would probably address the concern that Councilmember Johnson is raising. And also another point that I would make here is if there is a business that Councilmember Johnson is referring to, let's have staff look at that to see if we are seeing similar instances with other businesses. I think that would certainly address many of her concerns.
Yeah, the second one I'm a little confused on, Ms. Ashmere. Are you saying that if there is a business that Councilmember Johnson has a question on, that you want the foundation to look at that particular business? Or
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to do is if Councilmember Johnson is saying there is a business owner that did not get the grant, and I don't know what is the root cause here. So unless and until staff looks at it, we do not know what the problem is. So what I'm saying is anytime a business reaches out to us, if they are having issues with getting funding, what we do, we usually reach out to support staff and we say, hey, can you look at this application? Why this business has not received any funding? And I think most of the time we are able to address the questions that have been raised. It could be that they got in PPP and that's why they didn't get it, or it could be they didn't sign something. So I think I just want us to look at the concern that's been raised by Councilmember Johnson, because that I think unless and until we look at the problem, we don't even know what the solution is.
And what I would say, Councilman Ashmere, is we have, anytime we've had a council member or a city staff member that has reached out to us and has questioned about a business, we have complete transparency on that, and we are more than glad to provide, that information. What I will tell you is that going back, opening up those applications, reviewing back, getting that information does take time. So if we do that with all 5,700 companies, that's going to be an extraordinary amount of time. But what I would say is if any council member has any, I would say, several businesses that they're concerned about and would like to email me, email Holly, email Tracy, email James, whoever you'd like, we will absolutely track down that information. There's nothing to hide about this process, and we are glad to get that information and have been doing that absolutely along the way.
Yes, I remember I had sent an email about the food truck. They had some questions and they were addressed by staff. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to address this. I'm not saying let's go back to 5,000 applications. No, we don't need to do that. I'm saying let's just look at this because this has been raised to Councilmember Johnson and see if we can address it. It's a simple solution here.
And I would appreciate that, but I'm not just speaking for one business. I'm speaking for the 65% of businesses that didn't have their application processed for whatever reason. So I would just want to take a more proactive approach.
Yeah.
And
again, it does not mean that their applications were not processed. And it doesn't mean that we haven't already reached out to those 65% to help them get their application correct. So there are businesses within that 65% that absolutely have now been awarded grants because we reached back out to them and we helped them be successful.
great discussion. Now, Tracy, as we move over to
Yeah, just really quick, if we can go back to slide 14. This is the last thing on the access to capital. And I'm going to let Holly walk through this page, and I'll cue it up at the end while we're bringing it up, and then we'll move into Thrive. Holly?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy. It was a great discussion. Really appreciate hearing it. And so the original budget here for the work with the foundation, the administrative work, which says initial, the $2.376 million. We wanted to be able to break that down for you guys just to remind everybody how it was spent, and then talk about the additional money that we'll need to provide the foundation to do this extension until October 16th. So when it says program setup and community impact, what we're looking at there is for the 1.2, I would say it is around, there's extensive marketing work that was done. It was working with the YMCAs to have their facilities to pay people to actually do those in-person clinics, to pay the canvassers. We did a lot of business canvassing as well. And so those are the main, I would say, costs associated with that. And, you know, Laura, if I've missed something, definitely let me know. And then we've got the infrastructure. That's actually just the technology that's needed to be able to build out this program and then administer it itself, but that's the technology side. And then you've got the foundation for the Carolinas management fee. And so when we look at the extension, the $383,000 is all that's being charged. The foundation is not paying or asking us for any additional money for infrastructure costs or their management fee. They are actually absorbing those in-house. So the extension here largely has to do with the Navigator program and then the in-person clinic, the one that we'll have. So we'll pay staff members or contractors to be there to help our small businesses. And then also just this really intensive marketing effort that we want to do to let people know that it is back open for the 3 weeks and to please apply. Also within that, I would say too, I need to probably say both the initial and the extension in that program setup in community impact is the staff that are helping to review the applications and then also to do, and Laura, if I'm incorrect on this, please correct me, but to be able to just assist the businesses in fixing the applications or answering any questions that they have. And so what we wanted to show here is that 57% of the funding has actually been deployed into the community. So whether that's marketing, whether that's putting furloughed employees to work at the in-person clinics or doing the business canvassing, but 57% of it actually has gone back into the community. Then I've covered that last bullet point. So Tracy, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think the last bullet point you were going to hit, I think, is really important, which is the foundation isn't charging us a management fee to extend this program 8 more weeks. It just shows the kind of partnership that they have, that they've really crafted. And then again, how we have used some of this implementation cost to really put people back to work. And why we wanted to pull this number and show it to you again was not just the additional cost, but you will see it again when we hit the Thrive budget, because that's where it came out of. When you all voted back in May, you wanted the $30 million specific to the grants, not grants plus implementation costs. So you'll see that in just a few minutes at the end of the presentation. If there are no questions.
Laura, can I ask one other thing?
Yeah.
Can you break down a little bit on that 383, what is going towards the Navigator program and how that's set up? I think Councilmember Brashmira had a question about that, so I just want to make sure we get that addressed. Did I say that right, Councilmember Brashmira?
Yes, ma'am.
So of the 383, about $75,000 is going into the Navigator program. That's hiring the navigators, pairing them with the YMCA employees, also the notaries, the training, the background checks, those kind of things. So to set that up over the next 3 weeks, we've got about $75,000 in that. The remaining 383, really, this is going to the people that we're hiring for the call center and the people that we're hiring to review these applications. And you've got this, we're extending it over an 8-week period. So we've got 8 weeks that we're trying to cover here. Again, these are not existing foundation for the Carolinas staff members. We've gone out to the community and hired employees that were furloughed from the Y and other businesses and trained them. So again, these are not dollars coming to us, but dollars that we're using to hire other in the community to deliver this program.
Thank you, Holly. Tracy, now we will transfer to Thrive.
Yes, so if we want to go to the next slide, we can go on to the next one. I'm going to remind you of where we were on the budget that we proposed on July 14th. This is very fluid. We're responding to market conditions as we move forward. Every day is a little bit different than the day before. Also looking closely at what we think we can implement. We're learning a lot of lessons as it comes to implementing certain programs. And so we're shifting on some different things, but I just wanted to remind you the proposal that we had made on July 14th. If we can go to the next slide, please. And what we are doing is just, again, evolving and thinking about really talking about workforce readiness, business innovation, and Thrive business grants, and morphing that into two areas: workforce resiliency and business innovation and resiliency. So it's the business part of it and it's the people part of it. And there are certain proposals underneath those that we will walk through here in a second. And we'll go to the next slide, and it's more of that evolution of where we're getting to today. So the last slide was just where we were on the July 14th. And now, again, just further refining under the workforce resiliency and the business resiliency. Again, the two aspects in there. And if we want to go down to workforce resiliency, there's three primary areas around workforce resiliency: workforce partner support, Thrive hiring grants, and Open for Business platform. The workforce partner support, if you remember, if we can go down two more slides, sorry. Up one. Sorry, there we go. The workforce partner support, if you remember under Survive, where we had the ecosystem partner support, and if you remember what that was intended to do was we have a lot of people in our community that were assisting small businesses. Same thing goes for workforce. We have a lot of people in our community that are assisting, helping people get trained and back to work in different types of jobs. And so we want to stand up a grant program that our workforce partners can actually apply to either increase capacity for workforce or do something that's more innovative. And so we have three different areas where we're looking at this. And it's operational expenses where, again, you're upgrading technologies to deploy virtual training so you can train more people. You're increasing program capacity, again, training more people, or the potential for some kind of partnership with high demand career opportunities. This goes a little bit back to where we were talking 2 weeks ago. We're looking at what those different opportunities are, but we're reversing the way that we do this now and more asking our workforce partners to come to us with investment opportunities, if you will, through more of a grant program. We saw great success when we did this around small business partners and small business support assistance with our eco partners out in the community. And we have a model in which we can do this and do this pretty quickly. If you remember, the grants that Holly's team did were some of the first ones to go out. So same kind of thing here we can do and do quickly. And moving to the next slide, we have the Thrive hiring grant. You all have heard us talk about this many times. This is the push to create more job opportunities to our unemployed residents and ones that have been displaced by COVID. And we'd offset the expense of hiring those who have retooled their careers to take new opportunities, and building off of what we have as the Opportunity Hiring Grant that's not COVID related. This one would be same thing, that would be specific to COVID related. And it's a cash grant paid to the companies for hiring each employees with full benefits. And this is the existing and new businesses are eligible for that criteria. One thing that we want to be clear on here is we want to look at this and see where we are mid-October. If money hasn't gone out, then we can look at reallocating the funds.
So I call this the Fran West Amendment. Fran has done an excellent job. Council member, you remember, this was Chime Solution. We took a pilot program and we was able to reward Chime Solution a grant. So Fran, keep up the good work.
If we go to the next slide, the Open for Business initiative. We've talked about this as a part of Survive. It continues into Thrive. And what's been really interesting with this is the platform that now is launching a lot of these programs and a lot of the grant programs, as well as pushing out a lot of the information, whether it be mentoring series, small business task force updates, or committee updates. We want this to build to a platform that is the convener for resources related to small business and workforce development. We're talking about growing it even more into connecting job opportunities with those in need. If we can go to the next slide. So I mentioned just the job connector for future phases, future grant opportunities with embedded applications, business recruitment information, campaign support for food and beverage, which we'll get to, as well as company relocation campaign opportunity into that. So this has this platform really has opportunity to do a lot in our community and build on the resources that we have. Let's go to the next slide and move into business innovation. And this is really, again, moving away from focus on the individual employees and workforce and over into the business. We have 3 areas: resilient re-up program, innovative business grants, food and beverage relief fund, and actually the arts and cultural, we are changing that to a hospitality fund. So I'll cover that in a second. The resilient re-up, if everybody remembers us talking about AMP Up, which is a small business training program that we have for our MWSBEs. This is similar. It's going to be offered citywide for small businesses, but it's essentially the same thing with the intent of creating resiliency plans that is critical for small businesses' stabilization and future success. So again, it's building off of that AMP Up. We think that we can serve 40 to 60 small businesses, all with 25 people or less. And it would include knowledge sharing around risk management, business continuity, crisis management. It would be group work that would deploy a resiliency plan approach and refine plans and execute on operationalization. Can't say the word. And a resiliency plan. I'm tongue-tied.
It's not an Emily word. That's like an Emily word.
Operationalize. Thank you. So again, this is really building off the success. I love this program that we've had around AMP Up and creating it around creating resiliency or helping resiliency. The innovative, if we can get the next slide, the innovative business grant. If you all remember earlier in the summer, Center City Partners and Honeywell announced a business innovation fund. Their innovation fund is slightly different, but it really is provided at funds, grants up to $40,000 for companies who have innovative ideas on how to pivot their businesses and make them more resilient in a COVID-19 economy. And we would do the same thing. However, we want to expand our geography to be citywide. The existing fund, the Business Innovation Fund, has a preference to MWSBE companies. We want to, again, just make it citywide. We've heard a lot of great stories about how businesses have found ways to pivot and have innovative ideas, whether it's around, changing in technology or really different innovative ideas. I'll talk about some more in just a second.
Tracy, may I?
Yes.
Councilmember Asmir.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. I have a question about the last slide about re-up program. Is this in addition to the MPUP program, or would this replace that?
In addition to, I can answer that one.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's great. Thanks.
All right, so again, we want to complement, I want to be really clear on this. We're trying to work with Center City Partners right now to look at how we don't want to create confusion in the marketplace. We want to build off the model that exists out there today, but we have, again, a different geography and slightly different criteria.
Tracy, let me just add, I don't know if she's still on the line, but Mayor Pro Tem did have that question about the Center City Partners program and the partnership with Honeywell. So at least I'm glad that we're showing there's a difference. We're going to go citywide. What I think theirs was concentrate strictly on the center city boundaries, correct?
They had a 2-mile radius from Center City. And, they have seen some success in their grant program. I think they announced last week the first round of grants. Okay. Again, a lot of innovative ideas with companies who aren't necessarily just looking for that straight access to capital, but ways in which they can pivot or be innovative in this new time. Next slide. If we can go to relief funds. And I think here, what we want to talk about is a different strategy that's going to be new around helping, I'm going to call it just I'm going to say this very broadly, the hospitality industry. We've talked about arts and culture, we've talked about accommodate food, hospitality. This is a big sector in our city, and it hasn't come back. Restaurants are really struggling with all the new rules and that are consistently changing. When I have talked to restaurants, they've said that, there was pent-up demand once we all ended our month-long quarantine. But now, with summer and just all the new rules, people aren't going to the restaurants as much. Delivery, I hear consistently that Grubhub and DoorDash eat a lot of the profits if you're just delivering for a family. And so some of our smaller restaurants, that's just a hard concept for. And they're just having hard times pivoting. Planning is working on a concept that they call streeteries, which is trying to get restaurants a better ability to do outdoor dining as we come into cooler months. And so we recognize that between our restaurant industry as well as our hotel industry, I know that hotels have seen a 75% decline citywide. That equates to about 128 million lost in profits. And, the business travel, we all talk to business leaders, business travel is not coming back the way that it was. And then there's with the RNC changes, there's a shot in the arm that everybody thought perhaps in March might come around a little bit more differently than it is. And so if we go to the next slide, what we are proposing is a food and beverage relief fund. And then I'm going to talk in a second when we go to the budget, which I don't have a slide for, and I apologize, a hospitality fund. What I can tell you is our team, this is all happening real time. We are trying to keep up with this changing world, and real time is could not be more literal.
They're laughing because I gave them a real-time change at 11 o'clock today prior to the meeting, so I apologize, staff.
To be more specific, it was 11:20. And so we're proposing a $5 million food and beverage relief fund. And really, that could be one of two different things. It could be straight access to capital, or we could look at part of that as being innovation grants. I talked about the streeteries. We can roll that into that just to help businesses who have creative ideas how to pivot. Probably the most important slide is the next slide that we have. Yep.
Councilmember Ashmere, I'm sorry.
No worries. I will let Tracy finish this, and then I'll ask questions.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Tracy.
So the one thing I think is important to say before I go into the budget is if we do a food and beverage relief fund, if we do a hospitality relief fund, the idea is not that anybody is double dipping. So if you've gone through the access to capital and you've gotten funds through the traditional access to capital, you can't necessarily double dip. That's not the intent of this. But what we found, and Laura, please keep me honest on this, was that less than 7% of restaurants and food and beverage had applied for the funds. And so we wanted to create something that was unique for our restaurants and bars. This really came about last week when they got another 5-week kind of in phase 2 that we felt like there's a need to do something. Laura, did you have anything you can?
No,
okay.
I think so.
And so now let's go to the budget. So we're proposing this budget, and the goal would be that we can have some discussion here and the budget go forward tonight for a larger kind of blessing. Then we can start to implement on all of the pieces that we have in front of us. This would be workforce partner support at $2.5 million, Thrive hiring grant at $750,000, the Open for Business platform at $1.25 million. And again, with the Open for Business platform, I want to reiterate, it's supporting all of these other programs in here. The Renew career cohort expansion. So Emily is in the process of launching the first one. We think we can do a second training program by the end of the year. The Resilient Re-Up program we talked about, the Innovative Business Grants at $1.5 million, Food and Beverage Relief Fund at $5 million, and Hospitality Hotel at $3 million. I think we can continue to build out. I know the need for hospitality hotel is closer to 10 million. But I think we can continue to try to work to look for ways to build that out. The last one is the access to capital implementation costs that I mentioned earlier. Holly walked through the $2,760,000. I spent in the budget that I'm laying out here. I spent an extra 10 grand. So real time, my numbers don't add up. I spent an extra 10 grand. Yeah.
And I know she's looking at me. So committee, I'm gonna look at you all to make sure we can support staff. And Tracy, thank you, and staff. I mean, this is a very aggressive, but I think we're pivoting to the pain we're feeling in our community. And Laura, thank you for telling us that 7% of our hotel and beverage are applying for access to capital grant, and we're not trying to have double dipping. Councilmember Ashmere, and then I would like to get feedback from I'm about to put him on City Council. Mr. Vinay Patel, Councilmember Ashmere.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. So a couple of questions. For innovation grant, that was $1.5 million. So that's in addition to what has already been raised by Center City Partners?
Yes, this would allow what Center City Partners is doing in a 2-mile radius to now go citywide. So it is an addition.
Okay, so $1.5 million, and if we are looking at 40,000 per business, is that correct?
The way that Center City Partners has done theirs is they do up to 40,000. I think as we build this up, we would need to kind of probably work with them, understanding best practices. My understanding from last week was that they had a range of just a couple of thousand in some grants, all the way up to 40,000. And so if everybody is in agreement to move forward with this, I think we would start working with the foundation and Center City Partners to understand best practices on how this program has worked. And again, we would want to do ours citywide. So it's a little bit confusing trying to do it under the same umbrella, but slightly different in that it's going to be citywide, and we may change some criteria in there.
Okay, so this, I understand, would be for storefront throughout the city. What I'm concerned about with this specific Innovate program is $1.5 million for citywide. It's not going to go a long way, and there will be a lot of innovative ideas that would be coming in, and we may not be able to fund many of those. So I know that Access to Capital program has already received over $42 million in requests. So why don't we just go ahead and sort of put it in Access to Capital bucket so everyone can apply, and it will increase our reach. A second question I have is around hospitality and food and beverage. I know that hospitality industry has been hit the hardest, but so is fitness centers, because they are still not able to open their facilities. Same thing with bars. Same thing with even salons and barbers are still struggling because the consumer confidence is not there. So if we start creating these buckets for hospitality, food and beverage, then, the next thing you know, we're going to have requests from fitness facilities, or we are going to see a request from salons and barbers. So, and then I remember Mr. Winston making this point at our last council meeting, and he mentioned about how folks who work in entertainment industry or sports industry, like stagehand and so on, they were struggling as well. And these are individual contractors, right? And our federal pandemic assistant has ended as of July 30th. So I want to be mindful that if we are going to do this relief for one industry, then we gotta address the need that is so much larger. So I would like to see just having one bucket where everyone can apply for relief if they show that they have been affected by COVID-19. So really, those are the 2 points that I have where we are just making this pool of funds so that we can have more wider impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ashmere. Let me make sure I captured those. I think, say, number one, on the Innovation Business Grant Program, put that 1.5 million back in access to capital. Was one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the Food and Beverage Relief Fund and Hospitality/Hotel, instead of making those industry specific, just create one pool of $8 million for allow people to apply.
Yeah, so open to all industries that have been affected, such as barbers and salons. To Miss Councilmember Johnson's point, right, to even Mr. Winston's point around how individual contractors have been affected. Even the industries that do event planning, they have been hit the hardest. You know, there are no weddings or anything. So I guess we are not winning. I mean, we are not choosing winners and losers. We shouldn't do that. I think we should just keep it open for everyone who has been affected. So I don't know how that would work. Maybe access to capital, or maybe just another fund. Clearly, we have a lot of we have a need that is out there, as we can clearly see. We have gotten 42 million plus in requests. So maybe even if we were to put it in access to capital, would open it up to all businesses.
So let me make this recommendation, and then Mr. Vinay, I will go to you, get your input. Let staff take that back and come back to us September.
You want to wait a month?
No, I'm talking about just for those items, move forward, but I don't know if we need to wait for the whole thing for September 14th. I'd like to move forward some, but just come back just for those two and give us option with Councilmember Ashmere.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. However, just think about it in terms of that's a month to wait to do a recommendation and then to put into implementation. So we just need to think about our timing because it.
Yeah, because we don't have another council meeting to win. September what? 7th, and we don't meet again September 14th.
Mr. Mitchell, may I suggest something?
Go right ahead.
May I suggest that we put this in access to capital funds, so it's open to hospitality and food and beverage industry? And I would like to hear from Mr. Patel, because he's really an industry expert.
Exactly.
To see if thing would work if we are able to open it to everyone. And maybe we might have to look at the maximum. I think right now it's 2 million. And I know Mr. Patel had asked that question earlier about why is it 2 million. So I don't know if we were to increase that, would actually open it up to hospitality and food and beverage industry. So I would just really like to hear from him. But really, I would like to see this go out as soon as possible, because there are people that are struggling.
That's right.
But then I also want to make sure that we are making it as wide as possible, including all industries that have been affected.
So we'll go to Mr. Patel. I agree with you. And then Councilmember Bakari and Councilmember Johnson will need to weigh in as well. Mr. Patel.
Thank you very much. A couple of points. One, I mean, I appreciate what Tracy said. You know, 3 million is what's in the bucket, but the need is actually a whole lot better than, greater than that. Two, when Councilmember Ajmera said bars, salons, and gyms, they already have access to this because they're a small business or micro businesses. I'll tell you that the vast majority of hotels and motels do not qualify because they have more than 25 employees. So it did not qualify under the access to capital. I mean, we didn't apply for anything because one was that and two was because of PPP. I'm gonna kind of put that out. The other thing you got to remember is inventory. You know, hotels, restaurants, bars, they can keep their inventory and it does not expire. A hotel room expires every night. I can't resell a room today that I couldn't sell yesterday for last night. But a restaurant that has inventory can freeze it and use it when they can. If you look at it holistically, I think, yes, the hospitality industry collectively has suffered tremendously. Restaurants came back a lot faster. Hotels, I mean, I think Tracy gave the number of 75%. I mean, if you look at industry wide, it was 90% down in April year over year, 80% down May, 70% in June and 70% in July. So the only travel you're technically getting right now is some destination leisure travel. And restaurants, if you look at it, their numbers are definitely, their year over years are definitely not that much. Yeah, they may have gotten, they improved quite a bit when we went into phase 2. I think restaurants pivoted very well because they had the opportunity to, right? Going from in-house dining to take-home dining or delivery dining. So putting everything in one bucket, that's fine. I mean, if you want to give them actors, but you're going to have to create a mechanism that allows hotels. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. The Hilton Center City is closed and remains closed. They would never be able to access this capital because they have too many employees, but they're losing money every day because they got to keep the building operating. They got to pay for their for all the utilities, and a building that size, it's nuts what that could be. They got to still pay their mortgage, so they could be losing a couple of $100,000 a month just on those fixed costs alone. So the holistic approach is what we've got to take a look at over here. I agree with that, but the industries, hospitality, our perishable inventory perishes every night. And yeah, 3 million is great. I mean, I think there's 25,000 hotel rooms in the city of Charlotte, and I think that is from independent motel on Wilkinson Boulevard up to the Westin Center City that were open as of end of July. So if you did something, how do we distribute it? What's the metrics on it, right? And that's something that I think city staff can do, but you can do it very simply. And to make it equitable to everybody, you could just say, your grant is based on the number of rooms you have. You calculate it out and see what the number is divided by the rooms, and this is what you're eligible for. And then whatever we want to do on the restaurant and everything else side. But I think we've got to be cognizant of the fact that the vast majority of hospitality, hotel and motel assets would not qualify under the small business criteria.
Mr. Patel, thank you so much, sir. Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Bakari, any comments, feedback?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you, Mr. Patel, for that information. Because one of the things in the earlier presentation that you mentioned that the restaurants were the businesses that were hit significantly. So can we go back to the slide where you proposed this that had restaurants and bars and art and also arts? And then I need clarification. Is this relief fund coming from COVID dollars, or would this be from our hospitality and tourism dollars?
This is all COVID dollars related.
So because these industries would fit into the criteria of receiving assistance from our hospitality and tourism dollars, is that a consideration?
It has not been a consideration at this time because our hospitality and tourism dollars have been hit because it's not generating any new revenue. So we're looking at how we use CARES dollars to help these businesses at this time.
Okay, because I know that those industries are significantly affected, but like Ms. Ashmira says, there are so many small businesses that are affected as well. This is, and we don't want to have winners and losers. So if there's a way that we could leverage the fund that's specific to them so that it does allow us to utilize CARES dollars across the board, I don't know the answer, but I do know that the restaurants and the hotels have been, and the arts have been affected, but we also need to consider that these public dollars are for public good, and so we have to consider all of our small businesses in the city as well.
Excellent
Okay.
point, Councilmember John.
I
You had a follow-up? I'm sorry. Okay. Councilmember Bakari?
Yes, I was just going to add, our staff is really good at what they do. We've thrown them a curveball, and this is what they've come back with. And I think it would be wise for us to support what they have put before us as something they can do. They pulled a real rabbit out of a hat in the last 2 weeks. So I'll only support what is on that page.
Okay. Councilmember Ashmere, then I'm going to try to take a stab at a solution. Councilmember Ashmere?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand, as an industry expert, Mr. Patel had mentioned really the inventory where, once the days are gone, the hospitality industry is going to have a difficult time coming back. So there is a fixed cost expenses such as rents or mortgage. So he mentioned that a lot of them couldn't apply because they have over 25 employees. Correct. How about if we were to open up access to capital fund as our second phase, where we allow, let's say if they have over 25 employees, and we have to figure out what should be that number. Maybe Mr. Patel can address that question, but let's say if we were to make it 30 or 40 or 50, would that allow a lot of hospitality businesses to apply? So that's something we gotta hear from our restaurants and hospitality experts. So I think if we were to do that, that will open it up to all businesses that have been affected, like fitness centers. I remember like 3 months ago, we had a gentleman who had reached out to many of us on social media. He operates a boxing facility in Steel Creek area, and he wasn't able to apply for this funding because of, I guess, revenue limitations or maybe the employees. So I think this would, and I know that they haven't had any opportunity to actually start their business because of the restrictions that are in place. So I'm really concerned about our fitness facilities. I'm sure many of us, like myself, haven't gone to a fitness facility because they're all closed still. So that industry have really struggled a lot. So I want to be mindful of them, as well as salons and barbers that may have over 25 employees. So maybe addressing the employee size, the number of employees would address the concerns that's been raised by Mr. Patel, and even increasing from maybe 2 million to maybe 3. I don't know what that number is, but I think if we get those numbers worked out, we can address Mr. Patel's concerns as well as overall concerns around all industries.
So, Ms. Ashmere, Tracy would like to address the one question about the gentleman in Steel Creek. Tracy?
Yeah, so the one thing, the gentleman in Steel Creek, he could not apply because of the geography. That goes back to the micro business grants that we were doing that were specific to our corridor's geography. So he could have actually applied for the access to capital grant. Just want to make that clarification.
Thank you. That's great to hear. But do we know, going back to my questions around the number of employees and revenue, could you address that, Tracy?
So let me take a stab, because one thing, I want to be sensitive time, but I think, Ms. Ashby, you asked a good question. And I'm trying to say if we can do this without impacting our relationship with Foundations for the Carolinas, because changing the algorithm and changing that program could be an additional cost that I think in a short period of time, I don't know, we have that flexibility to incur. But Councilman Ashmere, and I think we all heard from Mr. Patel, who respect in the industry, how about if we just create a HTA fund? Because 1 out of 9 citizens work in the hospitality industry. And so there is a lot of need out there as you're talking about restaurants, you're talking about hotels. And so we give staff the flexibility to do a hospitality fund. As the councilman asked me, we'll take your recommendation of combining the $3 million and the $5 million and make it collectively and the 1.5. So that's a total of 9.5 million in a HTA fund. And then let the staff, like they did Partners for Support, let staff be responsible for administrating that, because I want to make sure we can continue to get this money out quicker. And I'm afraid if we put this on the foundation, that is a system change need to be made, and time is of the essence. So committee, give me your thoughts by just creating an HTA fund, combining what Councilmember Ashmere suggested, those three buckets together.
So I'm okay with us having this process done in-house. That's fine. I'm fine with that. The foundation has done a great job, and they have the capacity already, and they have shown us that. So I'm good either way. What I'm concerned about, if we set aside HTA dollars, we are not going to, we are choosing winners, especially the other folks will not be able to apply. So would that fund be only specific to hospitality industry? Does that mean fitness centers like would not be able to apply, like yoga centers, dance studios? Would they be not able to apply to that?
Yeah. Dance. So, Councilman Ashman, I would say one thing I think I want us to be cautious of. If Governor Cooper and his extending to phase 2 or phase 3, there are certain businesses that right now they cannot be open. And so the question becomes, do we still support those businesses, even though there is a state law that say they cannot be open in probably October, November? I think that's worth us having a conversation, or we continue to help those businesses whose doors are open now and who need still some more assistance. I'm flexible either way, but I do think you're right. And I don't like to say let's choose winners or losers, because I think all our businesses in our community are winners. But I think I hear you loud and clear. How do we help everyone? And I think that's the challenge before us. Is trying to help those who really need our assistance. So I don't have the magic wand for that.
And
I would suggest, Councilmember Johnson brought up a very good point, Mr. Mitchell, that see, there is already a tourism bucket. Maybe we can look at tourism bucket to only help hospitality and tourism because it's already restricted use. So do we know what the balance is? And maybe the COVID funds that we have could be more sort of have broader impact, because that's not going to be that is available to everyone. So maybe if we look at our tourism bucket and see if we can have funds just for HTA.
So,
Councilman Mitchell, can I respond to that since I'm on the CRVA board as well?
Yeah, I was going to take a legal stab at it that I don't know.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Councilmember Ashmere and Councilmember Johnson, I don't think statutorial. The state has given us the authority. We can use those funds for individual businesses. They only can be used for tourism activity. And Mr. Patel, you want to follow up, sir?
Yes, it can only be used for promotions. It can be used for debt service and functions like that. So right now those funds cannot be used to pay out individual hotel. That is a change that would have to be made in Raleigh. And I'll be very honest, I would oppose that 100%, and I will drive up to Raleigh and make sure it doesn't happen, because you're going to need this funds when it happens. The one thing we all have to remember here, we're not picking winners and losers. If the governor comes up tomorrow and says we're in phase 3, all these other businesses are going to be open. Hospitality will not come back till 2023 or 2024. So we're talking about Thrive. at this point in time. So let's keep that in mind. This is about what happens and when and how do we keep the businesses that even when we go to phase 3 are still going to be not able to get where it needs to be profitable.
Thank you, sir. So, Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Ashmere, I'm going to yield to Tracy. I think Tracy has something she wants us to consider. Tracy?
Well, just to what you were saying, Councilmember Mitchell, you could easily combine the hospitality and do a hospitality relief fund at $8 million. One suggestion that I would make is perhaps not to pivot away from this business innovation or the innovative business grants, because it's an opportunity for gyms or barbers or others, if they come and they say, well, hey, I have a way to make my business more safe, to grow that consumer confidence. Or what we've seen with a lot of gyms is they've been pivoting and doing outdoor classes. So they've gotten tents and they've gotten other things so that they can have do outdoor classes rather than do an indoor. So you're finding a lot of creative ways that these businesses that have been shut down that have found ways to become more mobile. I know Fran sent me one of a gym owner that is now pivoted to doing at home in your driveway training. And so we're seeing a lot of that, but I think that if you talk about it, that's something that's perfect for the innovative business grants.
Councilmember Ashmere, you like that suggestion?
Yes, so the business innovation grant is open to all businesses from what I understand. It's open to fitness facilities, it's open to yoga studios, it's open to hotels, restaurants, everyone. Is that correct, Tracy?
That is the way that we have it proposed now.
Okay, so I think that's fine. It's open to all businesses, so innovation can come out of it. I mean, that's the whole purpose for it. I am not comfortable with us allocating fundings only for one industry. We got so many industries that's been affected, and I don't want us to choose winners and losers, even though this is a thrive phase. So if there are industries that are still around, such as event planners, fitness facilities, yoga studios, dance studios, let's give them an opportunity, because guess what? Just like hospitality industry, they've been affected. They have not been able to get the fees that they collect, because as days are passing by, they're losing revenue every single day. So the PPP and all of those dollars that have come in to keep them in business for next 2 to 3 months, that they survived. So if we want them to continue to go beyond that, we got to put funding behind that. Otherwise, we will become a city that's not going to have a thriving scene when it comes to health facilities, salons, and so on. So I would like to see us setting a fund that's open to all industries.
Okay. Thank you for that input. Council, Laura, you have a suggestion?
Wondered whether the new fund, whether you don't have any income, so there's no income requirement, there's no employment requirement, and maybe you specifically call out all those industries that the governor called out and required, so it's anybody in that bucket that was required to be closed. So you use that as the standard of who's eligible to apply for this new fund. Just another suggestion.
Okay. Committee,
Mr. Mitchell.
Mr. Councilmember Johnson, go ahead.
So do we have anyone else on the call that represents small businesses in general instead of a specific industry advocate?
We had Chad and Diava, Chad Turner and Diava Wilson. Diava runs our Small Business Advisory Council. Diava, are you still on the call? She is not. She dropped off.
Okay.
Chad dropped off as well.
Okay, because I agree with Ms. Ashmere. I just think that there's been so many barriers, and I know that there are industries that are hit, but a 90% cut to businesses, it affects everyone the same. We can't count, the small businesses. We can't count their dollars. So if they've taken a hit, we have to listen to that. I think a general fund for all industries. Would that prohibit the hotels and restaurants from applying for that assistance?
I think Laura came up with the great selection that we would take away the filters, so we will remove the employees. You know, we won't have, if we choose to go phase 3, we would not look if you got 0 to 5 or 5 to 25. We would keep that open. We will also remove the category of your generated sales. Right now it's 30,000 through 2 million. So Laura's suggestion is let's remove those layers, then open it up that anybody could apply in phase 3.
Mr. Mitchell, if I may.
Wait a minute, she's correcting me. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, so I think your current access to capital, you know, we need to either close it down and start something brand new, in which will require building a new application process. What I am saying is if you've got an additional pool of funds that you want to create a new fund for, and you want new parameters to it, you could create and not have any employment limitation, any, you know, income limitation, and maybe you use the guidelines as what are those businesses specifically called out by the governor, and use that as your criteria in terms of who would be eligible.
So Laura, I guess the big question, and I'm gonna go to you, Councilman Ashmere. I think the bigger question within, from an infrastructure, how quick could we do something new, just to your point, with no layers whatsoever?
Obviously, if we use our current application process and can morph that, it's going to go much faster.
Okay.
But if we aren't able to take the current application process and morph it, we either need to close it and start something new, or continue it and continue on that path, which I think you should, given the number of applicants that you have. I really think you had. But do we use that application, morph it, and create this new pool for $8 million that would go to, you know, whoever you all determine as a body?
Okay. So I got Councilmember Ashmere and Councilmember Bakari. Councilmember Ashmere?
Yes, so I like what Laura suggested, that we take out filters, so that would open up to businesses that have not been able to apply, to Mr. Patel's point. I think that's a great solution. And I would also like them to continue to see this process to continue to monitor this process. We don't want to change horses in the middle of the race. They've done a great job. So let's let them continue to process these applications for relief fund. Also, as we take out all these filters, I also want to make sure that we don't include public companies, because they have an access to capital. They can go to market and issue more stocks and whatever. So I want to make sure that if we go ahead and take out those filters, we're not going to start seeing public companies apply.
Mega corporations.
Yes. So I guess if we can somehow incorporate that, I think that would address Mr. Patel's concerns. But then at the same time, I think Ms. Johnson raised a good point. I think we do need diverse industry experts on this. It's great that we have Mr. Patel representing hospitality industry. But moving forward, if we're going to have this kind of discussion, I asked staff that please give us a heads up so that we can reach out to industry experts ahead of time and get their feedback along the way. But I'm on board with Laura's recommendations, and I would like us to move forward. Thank you.
Councilman Bakari.
Thank you. We are really running out of time here, guys. And it was 2 weeks ago that we last pulled the rug out under staff, and then we gave them an impossible task. Over 2 weeks, they worked hard, and they did all their diligence and looked at all the data that informed them of a plan they just presented to us within 2 weeks that normally takes 2 months to build. And they didn't say, well, I'd like this or like that. They said, this is what I think the data informs would be the best use. So if anyone's asking where the experts of small business and what our community needs are on the call, it is, in fact, the staff that has presented us with this exact proposal. So we have two options in front of us at this point. We can trust the experts that we gave an impossible task, and somehow, given the time frame and where we are, brought us back something that is indeed workable. in niches of our community that are not getting access and have certain impediments in front of them, or we can on the fly, and what they did in 2 weeks, which was a miracle, in 20 minutes with a group of non-experts in this area, come up and create our own solutions, of which they strike me as very similar to the other program we already have that is not even a third of the way subscribed to the small businesses that are applying for it. Now we've got a good update. It's on its path. What that thing needs now is not more money. It needs focus on the rest of the pool that's there. So like I said before, and I'll say again, I won't be supporting anything coming out of this committee that isn't exactly what staff has worked 2 weeks on to prepare. And if we do something at this point, I think that that is different from that. I think everyone on this council and this committee needs to take a long, hard look at what exactly we're trying to achieve, because we have experts that we've given tasks. And the last 2 weeks were the time to bring up ideas and different kinds of motivations that they would like to have achieved, not now after they did all their work and they're hearing from you now, because this is the point of no return, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mayor, Council Member. I think we have one solution on the floor, and I just want to make sure let's make sure everybody on the same page. The recommendation earlier we made was to, let me go back here so I make sure I get it right so I don't confuse anyone. Oh, shut up. Wisdom. Okay. Recommendation of next steps, and that was to start our program August 11th to August 30th. We're still going to do that program with all the layers, everything intact. The discussion then today, discussion is now is, Laura brought up another suggestion, feedback from this committee, to open it up to use about $8 million, and let's don't choose winners or losers, and we will remove the filters from the current program. Is everybody on the same page with me?
The employee filters and the economic filters
will be removed. The employee filters and the sales figures will be removed.
Yeah, and I say let us dig into that just a little bit more to make sure that we're serving the broader audience that as we're talking about here.
Councilmember Ashmere, we're on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Johnson.
I didn't hear what Tracy said. Are we removing industry filters?
We're moving sales filter, and we're going to move employees filter. So we'll remove the 5 through 25, and we will remove 30,000 through 2 million. So we will remove.
So would this still be for food and beverage industries, or would this be a general fund for all industries?
General fund for all industries.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Bakari has stated his loud and clear. And Councilmember Bakari would say you this, staff has weighed in on this as well, so I don't want you to think you don't hear from them. They have not been sending me notes supporting and giving me suggestions. So staff has been joined at the hip working with us to find a solution.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
I agree with Laura's recommendations, and I will make a motion shortly.
Perfect.
But I just make sure as we remove those filters, Laura, could you just confirm there would be a filter to not include public companies?
Yeah, I think we'll have to figure out what that criteria in terms of, but I'm assuming you're talking about the Bank of Americas of the world or the large mega corporations, and so we'll have to figure out.
Yeah, the ones that can issue stocks and bonds, the public companies, yes.
So we'll figure out how we put that layer on, and then we'll work with staff to say what are the filters. So if we are going to look to the governor's orders to who they mandated to close, or what, if there are any other filters that become appropriate as part of this program.
Yeah, what I would add is Laura has made some good suggestions here after listening to council member concerns. But at the same time, we got to build this out. I just want to make it really clear with everybody. We're sitting here developing something as we're all just talking, and we really need the opportunity to make sure that it's going to serve parts of our community broadly. that we're talking about, that we're trying to hit, that the access for capital is not hitting,
Yep.
or that there's a greater need.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, Laura. Councilmember Ashmere, can you make your motion so we can move forward? We do have one more item left, believe it or not.
Yes, I proceed with moving forward with this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I made a motion.
Okay, I got it. And I don't know what we're going to call it, but right now, it's, anybody has a creative word?
I have dubbed it the filterless relief fund.
No, filter relief fund.
Filterless.
Filterless relief fund until we come to catch.
It's a broad fund to serve our community.
The broad fund.
Yeah, it's the broad fund that removes barriers and hurdles that they're running into.
Okay.
We can actually.
That's not.
We'll come up, but you get the intent of Councilman Johnson. Councilman Johnson, did you second the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do roll call. Councilmember Bakari.
No.
Councilmember Ashmere.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Mitchell, yes. 3-1 that passed. That we will come up with a new name for our new program that's filterless. Thank you, staff. Thank you, committee. And thanks for the members of the Small Business Task Force. So let me, committee, I got to make an apology so people won't know the staff did this. Because we was talking about Survive and Thrive, I asked staff to invite the members of the Small Business Task Force. So that's why they were on for today. And part of when we concluded our committee, we asked them to join us with certain topics. So I apologize, committee, not letting you all know, but it was just to keep their expertise and help us work on and continue to serve our small businesses. So I apologize. I'll send some out in the future so people won't think that was a staff initiative. That was mine. That was another 10:20 a.m., not 11:30, but it was a 10:20 a.m. this morning. We have one more agenda item, but I think staff is okay if we punt the TIG overview to September 14. Tracy, you okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, she's smiling. So we do have council meeting tonight. We will give an update under the city manager's portion about our great work we did here today. Anything else, Ms. Dotson?
I don't think so.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, anything else?
Yeah, one of the things we discussed was inviting some folks from the county to our meeting.
Oh, good point. Good point. Oh, God, thank you.
You asked me to work on that. We are working on that,
Okay.
staff level between the city and the county.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I submit that request to Tracy last week, and they're working to have a combined meeting between the two committees, hopefully in September. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Okay, because we have folks listening that were waiting for that announcement, so that we may have it in September or in our September meeting, or
We're pushing hard to make a meeting take place in September between the county and the city workforce/ED committees.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you.
Because I know you won't let me back in the district if I didn't accomplish that. Ms. Ashmere, anything else?
I just want to applaud your leadership and just the effort you have put into this to bring all players together. You don't often, you have been very modest. You don't often take the credit even when you deserve. So I just want to take a moment to thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for your chairmanship.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. But I believe we're all a team, so we do this together. Councilman Bakari.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay. We're about to conclude. I want to make sure we have nothing less on the table. We good?
I'm going to make sure I'm clear on what was just voted on. So did everything staff had proposed that was in industry-specific niches, whether that was hospitality or arts or whatever, that is all now generic access to capital, filterless? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. No more comments.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Remember, council meeting starts at 4 o'clock today. Appreciate it. See you all later on. Thank you.
Thank you.